the conversation we're having in the UK right now with regards to financial regulation is very worrying from a civil society point of view. Most people want a banking and financial system that is resilient, that doesn't crash, that also provides the basics, access to payments, investment in the things we need, like green transition and small businesses and face-to-face banking for those who need it. And we're just so far away from those things right now, and nothing out of either of the current Conservative leadership candidates that want to become our next Prime Minister in the next couple of weeks are talking about a financial system that does those things. And what we're having instead, as you mentioned, is this battle to actually deregulate the sector, to kind of wind the clock back to pre-2008 global financial crash, and set us on a path that could end up, in that situation or a lot worse. So Liz Truss's proposal to merge the three key city watchdogs, would risk recreating that light touch regulatory regime. It's the regime we had pre-crash, and many people, including city insiders, saying this is a bad idea. It makes us seem like we kind of keep changing our minds. It wasn't that long ago in terms of when we set up a much bigger regulatory system, because there was a consensus that there is so much risk in the system, complexity in the financial sector needs to be properly regulated. So from our perspective, we do really need to push back on this deregulatory agenda, which all sides of the Conservative Party are supporting. So whoever's Prime Minister is looking to deregulate the city.
Fran, I certainly take your point about the need for a careful regulation and a functioning, healthy, safe financial system. But on the other hand, the UK is trying to remain competitive in a post-Brexit world. So what are the other alternatives? What would you suggest are the better avenues to creating an attractive financial hub?
Well, I think, the starting point has to be what kind of financial system do you want? Do you want one that does serve the needs of the country and the wider society? So, helps us tackle the crises we face, cost of living, climate change, economic decline in parts of the UK. And just the reality is much of the current City of London financial sector doesn't address those things. We have less than 5% of bank lending going to small and medium-sized businesses, whereas that's 60% of private sector employment. So from our perspective, we do really need an approach to the finance sector which says, how do we get one that actually serves the things that we want, and does kind of have those goals, environmental and societal goals, in mind. And that's obviously a shift from where we are now, especially with the current conversation. And it wouldn't be able to happen overnight, but we could go down, a number of reforms, thinking about how we get different regional banks across the UK, how we could implement digital cash from the central bank that could actually give universal access to people, and really put those things at the forefront. I think that across the world, we're struggling with inflation, with cost of living, and the big drivers of that have been fossil fuel prices, but also corporate profiteering. And we're seeing, the current economic system really kind of faltering. It doesn't deliver for most people. So actually, we do need to have those conversations about how we shift the financial sector to the one that does.
Yeah, Fran Arabile here. It's just, if you lose the independence, though, of the BOE, surely the integrity thereof, as well as your standing in global communications, whether it be G8, G20, or any other sort of conversation as well around central banks and how you've worked your economy, does that change a whole lot? Does that get into people sort of feeling as though they can't trust your central bank as much, or is this just really pretty much the same as somewhat the US? They have dual mandates; they could work that way too.
Yeah, I think in terms of the Bank of England independence, I always talk about that conversation as a bit of a red herring, because it has operational independence now, but its mandate is always set by government. So government decides, how its resources are, what their resources are geared towards. And it was under Rishi Sunak last year, which updated its mandate to include climate change. Like we saw that as a really progressive step forward. But obviously, it's what comes next. How is that mandate acted upon that really matters? So I think, I'd say Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak, and conversations happening around the world are okay. It's a very live conversation that we've had for the last 10 years is like, are central banks' mandates out of date? Do we need to update them? Like you say, the Fed has a dual mandate. It does look at employment as well. But the reality is, how do those translate into economic policy? And so I'd say, what's the starting point for Truss? I'm a bit skeptical that Truss's starting point is those environmental, social goals of climate change, financial inclusion that I discussed. And so it would be good for her to lay out a bit more what she's hoping to achieve with a mandate review, if that's something that happens in the coming autumn in the UK.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.